Hey, welcome to the My Voice and Power radio show and podcast. Join myself and regulars every week and hear what we have to say on a variety of topics. We also welcome you to have your say in the comment section or by joining us here in the studio, which you can do by dropping an email to myvoiceandpower@outlook.com. Also, don't forget to tune in to the My Voice and Power show live every Thursday at 9 p.m. on www.unityliveradio.co.uk or download the app from the App Store. It's not enough leg space, sorry. Oh yeah, but it needs to be.
I saw you post that question about the influence on women, music these days.
That's what we talked about the other day.
Yeah, but then I started listening to a lot more music. I was like, to be fair, my music was very influential when I think about it.
Oh.
The 90s.
Yeah. All right. Hello and welcome back to the My Voice and Power podcast. Today I am here with
Nathan Lewis
and
Darwin Roddy.
Lovely Jubbly, thank you very much. So obviously last time, that me and you were talking about the influence that 90s music has had on women.
Mm-hmm.
And you were saying that you've seen my social media question of the week, and you have thought about it even further. So go on, please share your new conclusions.
First off, I feel bad because we're the only ones wearing caps.
Yeah, and it's black, so yeah.
Mine's just because of the bad headache. Anyway, so yeah, when you posted about the influence on women from the 90s music era, I started thinking a lot more about what was played then. And I think we discussed this before. I thought it gave women a lot more license to give more back, if that makes sense. So
yeah,
rather than, as I said before, the previous generations was all about what men would do for you and how they would do it, blah blah blah. I think women started to give back a lot more, and I think it's followed through.
Yeah.
The generations. I think
the evolution of the boss bee.
Yeah. So I think in terms.
Fire,
yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
When I thought about Destiny's Child, I completely forgot about Destiny's Child because they were late 90s. I was like, yeah.
Beyonce's been busting fake moves for a long
time. Yeah.
I was thinking, Independent Woman, big tune. I mean, that might have snuck into the noughties, but still.
What are your opinions on Beyonce at the moment?
At the moment, it depends whether I took notice of her at the moment or not. I'm one of those people.
Wow.
I'm one of those people that doesn't necessarily like Beyonce. I've never really been like. I've got maybe her first album when she did on her own. Was it Dangerously in Love? That was called.
I don't remember.
But I haven't. I've never really followed her, to be honest. Destiny's Child was there, but
so that's what I was saying. Did you like her better in Destiny's Child?
I like the music.
Yeah.
Now this has kind of gone. I don't know. Every time an artist gets so good, they start. Look at Kanye, mate. He was doing music, great music, and then he went off doing some experimental stuff, and then it's just like, I don't even know what you're even doing anymore. But he would still bring out one or two tunes, but the albums as a whole, I thought it was nonsense.
Yeah. But are there actually any albums that you listen to and you like every single song on it?
The only way I can describe good music is when the only way I can describe good music is when you get the stank face when you hear something. So for the first time you hear something and you go, have you never heard that expression? You go, yeah, look. So as an example, I can listen to, but you want specifically 90s. I mean, I can say Backstreet Boys.
What?
So in the 90s, there was a big mix, right, of different things, and R&B came to the forefront in the 90s. So any album that I bought, I typically listened from start to finish, regardless. And any album I did buy, I liked. All of them I liked. I can't help that. It was just the era or the time, I guess. Mary J. Blige, liked. Faith Evans, as we said before, liked. Brandy, Incredibles. TLC, yes. A Tribe Called Quest, yes. I know that's starting to verge into hip hop stuff as well. But any album that typically was brought out by an urban artist was good.
So you consider Backstreet Boys urban?
Their sound was urban, but
okay.
I wouldn't say they were urban.
I'm not gonna lie. It's not
Cultural appropriation.
Yeah, there's the. they might have jumped on the bandwagon of the fact that R&B was doing so well.
They all did.
Yeah.
Maybe they just liked the R&B and wanted to be part of it.
Well, NSYNC, i.e. Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
They did exactly the same thing.
Yeah. I don't know where I stand on that kind of thing, because like when you were growing up, did you not have friends outside of your ex?
Yeah.
So how do we know that they didn't have friends outside of their ex, and that's how come it became something they liked?
It probably did, but then understanding the music industry, they'd have just been pumped through to see what's. Let's take Pink as an example. Pink started off with an R&B album.
Yeah.
But she's not an R&B artist, as she said. She's more rock or pop.
So she did what she needed to do to get where she needed to get.
Yeah.
100%.
And even then, her music was. And then you think about it, her music was messaging to whoever at the time. In fact, that's an album that I listened to all the way through. And I don't know if she was 90s or more 2000.
2000.
Yeah, but I listened to her album all the way through and I liked it. R&B once again. But her messaging was there. It differs from a male's perspective to a female's perspective. Because I can listen to Pink and go, yeah, that sounds good. Whereas and this is a big presumption, women could listen to it and go, yeah, what she's saying makes sense because I relate to it, etc., etc. So.
But then we all do that with things that we relate to. If something can speak an our truth.
Yeah, we touched on that before. Yeah, with the beliefs and all that stuff as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Stop hogging the limelight. Let Darwin speak.
No. This is interesting. This is interesting.
But where's your contribution?
What's your opinion?
Oh, don't worry, it will come.
All right, cool. No, you've been told to carry on. You've got to carry on now.
Oh, okay. No, I mean from my point of view, and we touched on this before, like rap music, I couldn't relate to as in what I was experiencing in my own life, but I still like the hook, I still like the tune, still like, to the point the lyrics were a bit, actually I don't quite.
Well, you weren't living in Compton, you weren't dealing drugs.
Exactly.
You weren't getting arrested by the po-po every 5 minutes.
And I wasn't being threatened by someone in the next block.
What about stop and search?
We were kids.
Yeah.
Saying that though, I got stops with a mate, white mate, ginger, walking down the road, a police stops us and went, we believe you've robbed a telephone box.
What?
And we looked at each other and was like, and we just turned around and said, what, a ginger and a black guy?
Yeah.
And we just snickered. And then Gary was like, okay, we'll give an eye on you. Okay.
Yeah.
And then just carried on walking. I was like, what the hell was that all about?
I was quite lucky. I never got stopped and searched. I've only been stopped twice in my life. But there was only one was at uni, where I was jogging down the street and someone went, "What are you running from?" I'm just jogging. I'm just jogging. And then the other time I was driving in my car with my brother, and the police pulled us over and they said, "Oh, we've heard reports of like 2 people driving around the estate." I was going to see my grandmother at the time, and we had literally just gone straight from my house to my grandmother's house. So we weren't driving around anywhere. And then they pulled us up out of the car and they said, "Where are you going?" Literally that house over there. "Oh, yeah, what are you going there for?" Blah blah blah. "Who owns the car?" Blah blah blah. And that was it. Little bit of a search of the car and then they went, "You're on your way." I was like, "Thanks for wasting my time."
And theirs.
Yeah.
But they
Apparently they have plenty of it to waste.
yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm in touch with it now because I'm probably going to go and get stopped and searched every time I go out of the car.
Well, why would you say that then?
Yeah.
Put it out there in the universe. It's like, if that happens, that's
Touch
on
wood.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, touch wood. Also, at the same time I'll win the lottery and I'll be a multi-millionaire again.
That's right.
And
Yeah,
let's
that's what we
put
want.
that out.
And then just remember your friends in the process of that happening.
And those, yeah, I remember you very fondly, but I'll remember you.
Oh.
Well, I'm drinking
Wow.
tequila. I'm not on punches in Barbados.
What would you actually do if you won the lottery?
Buy a full catalogue of 90s music? No, I don't know. I just wouldn't work.
Really?
I wouldn't work.
I know exactly what I would do.
I wouldn't
I'd
work.
go and invest every single penny of it, most of it, and then give some of it to the old man.
Depends on how much
To enjoy the last few.
Yeah, but the
decades.
last lottery was 122 million or something.
Well, that's
European. Like
Oh,
yesterday.
Three
Now,
people on it.
I put it out in the universe that I was going to win,
Mm.
and then the news popped up and said someone from the UK as well, and I was like, oh, I wonder if it. No, it wasn't me.
Oh.
But their share was 61 million. I mean, what do you do? What do you do with it?
Whatever.
You could give away half of that and still be like,
You could spend all of it and only own half a boat.
yeah, that's true. But it would be more sensible than that.
Well, that's the thing. This is why I would invest it.
Do you know what?
Because you're not gonna have a good time spending it and be dead,
Yeah.
or you're gonna invest it and have a good time continuously and let your family
Have a
have a
legacy.
good time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
So someone I know, he's an entrepreneur,
Mm.
black entrepreneur, very successful. He's building a school. So he's putting his own money into building a school to help kids be educated in the way that he would like kids to be educated around.
Oh, I like that. For me, that was a key sentence.
Yeah.
In a way, he feels kids need to be educated.
Exactly. So
Because, yeah, school, I don't agree with any of the way that school is done. And there are so many people that slip through the net that are not catered for in school, in college. I don't know about in uni, but then most of those kids who are not supported in the best possible way probably don't get there anyway. And
But it's only
not
meant
from
for the
their fault,
80% of you.
yeah.
That's the thing. School's only meant for 80% of the people. It's a numbers game, isn't it? It was never designed specifically for the people on the fringes or the outliers of that 5-10%. That's just a
And it's probably been highlighted more by the lockdown and stuff, and kids now coming out and kids struggling at school because they haven't had that interaction. But schools are like, well, I don't know what to do, don't know how to cope with this.
I see.
they can't make up the time back. That's how problem.
And again, there was an issue before lockdown.
Yeah,
All lockdown has done has highlighted the fact that there's been an issue.
yeah.
Like, and a lot of it is still falling back on the parents. Or now you know what your kids are like. Now you know you see what we have to put up with. Blah 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 blah. But there's a lot that teachers have to answer for as well when they're in the school system,
Yeah.
because that kids spend half their life at home and half their life at school. Every adult needs to be setting the best example, and they're not. Which is fine because we're all human, we all make mistakes, we're all allowed like off days and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But where is that same forgiveness for the children who are bound to be making more mistakes than anybody else?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, there's a kind of not zero tolerance, but very little tolerance, isn't there? If you
Yeah.
go outside that mean of behaviour, it's just like, okay, yeah, we have punishments for that, or they used to have punishments for that. Now they accommodate you in a unit or outside the schooling system, and it's just like, okay, well,
You get labelled.
what do you do? You just
Yeah.
move the problem into a single room somewhere, and then hope that they kind of muddle through with a bit of help. And it's just like, well, that's not dealing with the problem. You just shoving it into the carpet and hope it will just go away.
and all these labels, I think for me, one thing that I've noticed is that children are expected to behave a certain way and they're dealt with a certain way by certain adults. Then suddenly you get the labels. Oh, they've got this, they've got that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Then said adults then become like, oh right, okay, well we need to treat you like this, we need to treat you like that. But the child hasn't changed.
Changed, no.
No.
So if you were treating them as you should have been as humans in the first place,
Mm.
Yeah.
then half of the issue would have been resolved before they were even given the label anyway, and lots of these labels can actually be picked up earlier, but the school system doesn't do anything about it until much later.
And is that a resource thing? Is that a knowledge? Is that do schools understand ultimately what to do or how to spot things? There'll be some
I believe that
individuals
there are politics behind that sentiment, which is what changes everything in the first place. Because as well, this is where obviously communication is key, because like there's almost like a hierarchy in schools. So it's kind of like, well, I'm the teacher and you're just a teaching assistant, but I'm the teaching assistant, and as a teaching assistant I'm here to help your job as a teacher easier. So, but there's no respect of boundaries, and also then there's the thing of like, right, okay, maybe you've got a degree in teaching, but what experience do you have working with children?
Yeah, that's common. That's almost common in every industry, especially in engineering, which I'm involved with. There is what's the right words? A misunderstanding of importance with some that come out of university who get implemented into job roles, and those who are on the coal face, let's just say, grasping with the actual realities of their job, and then they go to meet, and it's just like, well, hang on, no. My teaching and my model says X, and you're just like, no, mate.
Yeah.
Reality says this. You need to, and this is the thing, if you start implementing hierarchies with that, then you miss most of the message, because you're not communicating, you're just dictating. That's one-way traffic. That's always going to end up with a failure, and the problem is the failure is the children. It's not the teacher telling the teaching assistant, no, you're going to do it my way, because they want an easy life. They want, just like everybody else, they want the least amount of hassle daily, so they can do what they believe that they come to work to do. And obviously, when you challenge that, it's a problem. You take them out of the comfort zone, they go, no. Some people can't cope with that. And that's where the hierarchy thing comes in. Because if people start talking down to people or trying to establish that hierarchy in a way, in a non-constructive way, then that means that they're not coping with the system that they're in. Part of the things that I do is trying to talk to people.
Who's not coping with the system that they're in?
Obviously the teachers.
Right, okay,
but this is the thing, right? Just like everybody else, most people go to work to earn money so they can pay the bills and have some spend over, and hopefully enjoy the thing that they're doing. If you no longer enjoy the thing that you're doing, you're just trying to get through the day. You're just trying to get through the day to tick the other boxes. And that's the thing with teaching and kids, it's difficult. It's difficult, especially when your system doesn't back you up. So with all the reforms and the environment, but the kind of the tendencies of schools now, as you're saying, to not deal with some of these issues because they almost deemed as too difficult. All the pressure goes down to the people actually doing the job. That's a lack of leadership and policy. Those, if the head teachers and school governors and the local authorities actually really want to drill down and deal with some of these issues, they could probably alleviate some of the pressures on the teachers, which means that teachers and the teaching assistants probably have an easier environment to cooperate with, which means that the children then get the best out of both of them. Pressure always only goes down one way. It rarely goes up the other way. Because the thing is, if you put pressure and you don't like what you're doing, you leave.
See, and then I think a lot of the problem with that, excuse me, is that a lot of people work from a space of ego.
Comfort, it's comfortable, they take comfort in what they know.
It's not comfortable though, is it? Like, in that moment, you're doing what you know, but the emotional aftermath of that that you're left with after,
Yeah.
you're still feeling that, you're still having that negative emotion, you're still having to deal with that, which is uncomfortable. Like, you're right, I hear what you're saying about sticking in the patterns. You stick to what you know, and obviously I've been in situations where I have experienced that myself, but looking back now, when you think about it, you've dealt with something the best way that you know how, but you're still left troubled afterwards.
Yeah.
Nobody focuses on that or thinks about that, and if that was something that people considered, then you would change the way you do things.
But you'd want to learn from it at least, wouldn't you? That's the thing. If it hurts that much, you'd want to learn and quit.
Yeah. But then that could lead into the tendency of, I don't want to hurt that way again, so I'm not going to do it, or I'm not going to
Avoidance.
spend it. Yeah,
So they go for avoidance as opposed to heading off head first and go, okay, what can we do? But again, that's just, people do that with lots of things. You have a bad tendency of avoiding. I'm avoiding pain sometimes. So yeah. Me, yeah, definitely.
But you're not really avoiding it, because all that happens then is that it sits in your body.
You delay it then when it festers.
Kick the can down the road. Yeah. I'll deal with that later.
Mm.
No, you won't.
And then you end up with an ailment instead.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same. The people who suffer are the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
teachers will
yeah.
suffer, but the majority of the outcome affects the children, always.
And then years to come, when they're the ones who are suffering and living lifestyles that nobody wants them to be living, nobody wants to take any responsibility for any of that. So, but I do feel like there are so many generations, including ours, where so much internal work needs to be done before we can start expecting better from our children.
We don't have the services, but
So I think you touched on this last time when I said the generation now that are maybe 13, 14, 15, 16 are probably, they've got a real chance of having an impact because of everything that's bubbled up. I mean, COVID in a way was a good thing because it raised a lot of issues to the forefront, and the issues were there before, but it's brought things to the forefront. So kids now will be thinking a lot more about those things compared to when you or I were growing up. It's kind of just tucked away. You don't worry about it. That's why I said now, the generation now that will be taking on the mantle in 10 years' time will have a more rounded view of things in theory. And
I'm glad you said in theory, because that generation that are challenging, and it's just like any of us, if you challenge somebody who is not healed on something, it's a trigger. And if you do not know how to deal with that trigger, then you have an impact on the person who is challenging you, even if it comes from a good or healthy place. So then, how can we expect this younger generation to do better if that's what they're going to get met with? Even you said yourself last time that you feel like the term snowflake is a bit gaslighty for.
Yeah, because now, I mean, we talked about it like back then. Men were men; they had to do this, that, the other, and women were women. They stayed home, they looked after the kids. It's blurred so much more now. For a better thing, women go out to work, they do the similar jobs, they do similar pay, etc., etc. Snowflake is a bit of a term that, oh no, that boy or that man is a bit sensitive. Well, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? He's taking into account feelings that, 2 generations ago we just swept under the carpet.
Yeah. See, and that's what I feel, but everyone says that men who think like that are too feminine.
Why?
Good question.
Why?
Have you got answers down? I can see you
I'm processing.
From my point of view, if you're in touch with your emotions a lot more, then you can figure things out a lot more. When rather than suppressing an emotion, you go, that makes me really unhappy, but because I'm a man, I should be seen as stern and I should be able to cope with that or laugh it off.
Yeah.
But you're suppressing something deep down in your soul. That's not very healthy, is it?
No. And like for me as well as a female, like I hear a lot, well, women get to speak to other women about their problems. But I'm not a female that's like that. If I'm in a conversation with someone and something comes up, then yeah, I'll talk about it. But I'm not someone to be like, oh my gosh, and then start calling someone and be like, did this happen today? Like, I don't do that. So then where do us women who are too masculine, like, where's the understanding and acceptance for us?
I think it's just a case of because people aren't used to it. It's like, oh, wasn't prepared for that. I don't know how to react. Don't know what to do. Don't know what to say. You go over there and you deal with it with how you want to deal with it. But then that's what I say. It's changing now. Like people go, oh really? Well, explain to me. Or
is that because they don't have the capacity to deal with it?
Which is
The
something.
other person, doesn't have the capacity.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I'm so sorry you're feeling this. Go over there and deal with it.
well, we've had
don't come bring to me because I've got my own problems to deal with. Oh, that's what I think. That's what I wonder because thinking about what you were saying, like in terms of like men being men, women being women. It's just like, well, hang on a second. You asked 50% of the population to come into work. The women are now working more than they did before. Fantastic for businesses and all the rest of it. But that means that the duties have to be split. Not all one person can do everything. As you said, your missus is working. She's working late. Now there's childcare involved and all these other things, and all those pressures that were being burdened upon maybe half the population, mostly men, at a point in time, are now being spread across men and women, which then means it's like the channels of which you now have to express your issues and the rest of it. It's now possibly not just your partner, because your partner's already got enough from the day of having to deal with stuff. So where else do you go? Previously it would have been football, like something physical most of the time.
Some kind of activity.
But there's so many different things now, and maybe that's half the issue. It's just like things are more visible, and there are more channels to use that. And yet people are picking things and going, hang on, that's traditionally a female thing, and it's just like, well, it's just a thing.
It's interesting because if you then, and I'm just throwing this in there now, I'm putting a pin in the grenade. I'm just going to. Is what do single parents do then? Because if you're a single female parent or a single male parent, you have to balance and show the balance to your children. Then you go, well, that's traditionally a man thing to do. Well, yeah, but your mummy that's looking after me is doing what the man is doing.
She's doing it.
Yeah.
She's coping with it.
Is she?
Well, coping as in physically having to do it because there's no other option. Because otherwise your whole home structure collapses, right?
Yeah.
So mother, father, whoever, they're doing it all. They're doing it all. But then the problem is they may not have the outlet to be able to express this stuff, so it just gets suppressed. And that's the thing. There are just more channels to express what is being suppressed now, more than there was before.
Yeah. I mean,
I think that's where it comes down to. People saying, "What? Like, go with your mates. Don't come calling. Don't go crying to when it's unattractive." Or it's just like
we touched on this before when I said I spoke to a counsellor because I needed to speak to a counsellor to get through things. Whereas in traditionally, especially in a ethnic community or black community or whatever you want to say, it's very taboo. Like, why are you going to talk to that person about that? That's your personal stuff. You don't want to do
Sweep
that.
it under the carpet and move on. But like Darwin said as well though earlier, that there aren't the services anymore.
No.
Well, where are you going to go?
No.
You've only got a finite amount of people to go to.
Yeah, well, I'm lucky in the sense of I channeled that through work, so I had benefits through work able to do that. But number one.
Wait, sorry to cut you off. You channeled it through work, but did you actually? Because like I feel like back to lockdown when people were like, all of these people are not coping. Well, that's because we're a high functioning society, and any generations before us who didn't have counselling and all that kind of stuff had to still go to school, still go to uni, still go to work, still get a job, and then everybody wondered why everyone was why those people were struggling
Mhm.
when lockdown came. Well, that's because everything you've been suppressing whilst you've been at work is now coming to the surface.
Yeah.
You got nowhere to channel it.
So
But
then
it's
you
like,
have to
what do I
really
do?
you have to let it out, and then you have to
What
deal
What do I
with
do?
it. Yeah.
What do I do? I can't go out. I've only got an hour to go out.
Yeah.
I'm going to be stuck indoors.
But again, isn't going out still just a distraction? You're not sitting and feeling what it is that's going on inside you in order to be able
It
to
depends.
process it and
Depends
deal
on
with
the
it.
individual. Because if someone goes out without music or just goes for a walk, they have the chance to process stuff. They have the chance to think things through, clear mind, things like that. But I think the other issue from that perspective is I channeled it through that way because I knew it was available. But I kind of went against the grain where people say, well, you don't need to do that, you'll be able to cope on your own. And I think, well, okay, well, how do I know I need to talk to somebody, but how do I do it? And then I actually went looking to understand how I did that. And there was no one to tell me or advise me, well, you go talk to this person. Whereas now I go out my way, if someone says I'm really struggling, go and speak to someone that's a professional that will help you like process that thing through your mind, because otherwise it's just going to sit there and fester.
Yeah.
And then it becomes bigger. And I had to speak to a counsellor because of grief, and the best thing that she told me was, you know, once you had a loss or whatever it may be from a grief perspective, imagine that your life is like a circle at the moment, a big round circle that's all happy, all good. You've suddenly got grief with, there's a big black circle in the middle of that. All that's going to happen is you're going to grow around it. It's not going to disappear. It's not going to suddenly disappear into nothing, so you forget about it. It will always be there, but you've got to grow around it. You've got to build upon that. But me thinking about that now, I would never have thought about that if she hadn't have told that to me. Whereas there's people out there going, well, I need to diminish that grief or that thing that's causing me the issue. How do you do that? You can't. You've got to grow outside of it. You've got to grow with it.
So acceptance is key.
Massive. You've got to kind of accept that that's the scenario now. That's the status quo. Build again. Go again.
Do you know what? That's not it. Do you know what? Think about this. That's applicable to not just grief. That's applicable to a lot of things.
Anything.
Yeah.
Because you then have to develop the mechanisms to be able to. Well, people develop mechanisms to cope with it, which are non-productive, and other people produce mechanisms to cope with it in a positive way.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. It's not knowing who, without some guidance, knowing that's destructive, don't go down that route. That's quite positive, but don't let it get out of hand.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because even though something can be a positive mechanism, that can also become negative. It becomes overarching in other parts of your life. But I tell you what, it can shape people. Well, it's probably shaped some of the most productive, enthusiastic, successful people that we know.
Yeah, I mean, you don't typically you'll hear people that sit down and go, I was successful because I worked really hard at this, that and the other. Okay, great, but what did you do when you were knocked down? What did you do when something happened? And they go, well, they have a driving force behind them that said that I spoke to this person, or I realised that I had to look at things in a more valued way or level way, or whatever it may be, but there is some kind of guidance there. Or I spoke to someone I knew that had gone through the same thing. I think.
So they're still working hard,
Yeah.
just in a different aspect.
Yeah. You don't just down tools or anything. Yeah, right. I've got to reapply myself in a slightly different way. More positive. And as you say, you don't want to take it to an extreme where suddenly that just takes over. It's more level-headed. As I say, a counsellor is. I always say things that are a bit dodgy, don't I? But a counsellor is the best kind of trick of a role or trick of a job out there, because a counsellor you will speak to. A counsellor will sit there, they will not advise you, they'll sit there, they'll take on board and then just repeat back what you said to them and go, how do you feel about that, or what would you think, or how would you address this? Then you're figuring it out for yourself. The counsellor's just there to absorb stuff and then just basically turn the mirror around and give it back to you.
But the energy of you speaking those words and changing what's going on in your system is also part of the process.
Right.
That's where the difference usually lays.
Yeah.
And this is why I always preferred therapy
Mhm.
to counselling, because therapy goes a lot deeper.
Mhm.
I had the last set of therapy I had was group therapy, but the therapy I had before that was called psychodynamic therapy. So they use different types of therapy
Okay.
for different things, and you can everything's like parallel. So you kind of deal with your past whilst dealing with your present,
Mhm.
because obviously it all affects each other,
Mhm.
whether we know it or are aware of it or want to admit it or not. It all impacts each other. So I found that really beneficial. I feel like for me, counselling is just like someone talking to their friend or something like that. But I think when you have a therapeutic aspect, there's a different dynamic.
That's why I go against the grain and go, I'm not going that deep in myself. I don't want to see what comes out at the end of it. I should, in theory, I should be like, I should be an ambassador for that. But you know, there's certain traumas you go, maybe it's better I don't revisit that.
How is that better?
It depends on the scenario, I guess.
I'm backing you up on this one because I had the therapy, mate. And I tell you what.
I'm doing this one, but
yeah, I think it depends on the trauma. I'll give you an example of myself.
Okay.
So I had a rather catastrophic accident many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Many years ago. And your brain is an amazing tool because when I woke up in the hospital, etc., I could not remember a thing about what happened. Just literally the trauma in my brain was like, do you know what? You don't ever want to revisit that or think about that or even understand that again in your life. So I'm just going to shut it away. And so everyone since, if they ask me about it, they go, do you remember much about what happened before, during or after? Absolutely nothing. Now if I want to have the therapy to try and unlock that stuff, do I really want to do that if my brain has made the decision itself to such a deep level that it doesn't want me to remember that stuff because of the trauma affecting my body and broken bones and things like that? Do I want to unlock that? What benefit will I have in unlocking that? I don't know, because if I delve that deep, what is that going to mean? So I kind of shy away from that stuff. And I go, you know what?
But I don't think your brain would necessarily, like, if you're not meant to remember, having therapy is not going to make you remember. It will help you to process and deal with the emotional stuff around that rather than that itself, because there's only a small part of your brain that's actually made for trauma. And the problem these days, and I say these days, the problem in any day is the fact that we all experience more trauma than our brain is capable of dealing with. It doesn't have the space for it, and so then it filters out of that trauma space into the rest of your brain, and then that's when you end up with mental health.
Yeah, that's why I'm crazy.
Doesn't change.
Don't lie, Darwin. Don't lie.
yeah, I'm trying to bring him up. It's trying to be positive.
But my brain pushes so much stuff out now that I just don't remember anything. I don't think about anything. It's just I'm vacant most of the time these days. I just there's a book that I read that's kind of I think it's Living in the Now or Stay in the Now or I can't remember the title of it. It's just you live in the now. You can't think of the past. You can't think of the future. You've got to enjoy where you are now. I'm like, oh, okay.
Being present.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that triggers me. Yeah, that
Don't
all this is in the past. Only the action of what happened is in the past. The imprint it's left on you is still there.
Yeah. Like I say, the argument would be, but what are you doing about it now? So in the now,
I'm here with you, talking about these things, being open about it, sharing it, talking about it. That does not mean that it's completely eradicated from me.
No. I don't think that ever does though.
no.
Right. So then why do we be so like, oh, it's in the past, let's forget about it. Like, I feel, again, there's such a way to be just dismissive.
Dismissive,
Yeah.
I
So,
suppose
and
it's a-
how can you be in the present if you have not been able to process the things that have gone on around?
If you haven't tidied up your room,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
yeah.
She says,
Desk.
with
Tidy
her
your desk and all
untidy
the rest of
house.
it.
But yeah,
Let's not talk on that.
well, yeah.
I'll be in trouble if we talk on that one. They always say that your desk is the state of your mind, and my desk is disgusting.
See,
So
and
many
I think-
papers, stuff. It's all over the shop.
I think that works both ways as well. Sometimes your desk is the state of your mind, and so then you. But sometimes if you tidy up something first, that can make you feel better.
Yeah,
Mhm.
100%.
Mhm.
100%.
Yeah.
Tidying up your bedroom, sheets done, pillows in the right place. I tell you what, you like.
I'm going to sleep well
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah,
You come into a room and it's a tip. You're gonna go.
I
Oh,
think
I'll
that-
deal with it tomorrow.
I think that depends where you're at mentally. Yeah, exactly.
I'll
So
deal
that,
with it
that
tomorrow.
whole, there's
I'll
like,
do
I
it.
can't
Keep
see,
doing
I
it.
can't see, where's the
Yeah.
bed?
I can't find the thing.
Yeah.
That sounds like me every day though. So, once again, this is not looking good for me. Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah, I get you. 'Cause
But some people can live in mess. It's like organised chaos for them.
so
And sorry,
The
and I used,
artistic types.
yeah,
Yeah.
I used to be able to do
Artistic
that.
flair.
When I lived in care, that's how I used to be able, like, and people are like, how can you find anything? Well, I know what
I know
pile.
exactly where it is.
So-
Exactly.
yeah, do you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah.
Don't tidy up my stuff.
Yeah.
I know exactly it.
And we used to have those little Henry Hoovers, and then like people were like, oh, this carpet, like, yeah, obviously keep carpets, careful, like, but people were like, oh, the hoovering up is so long, and I'm like, if you hoover with the brain of the carpet, that people are like, how can you know everything? But yeah, you're the one who's so. But because when I do tidy up and do clean, yeah, these are the lengths I go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So,
can't, like,
Some say that's common sense.
yeah.
Some say that's ADHD. Look, OCD.
OCD.
yeah,
It could be ADHD.
yeah,
I mean, even like this will trigger my wife because when she listens to this, she's don't say it. Well, yeah, it's probably a better thing to do. But I always view a home as somewhere that looks like it's lived in.
yeah.
Right? In the sense that you've got the, I mean, you still would want to tidy your home, but I don't understand show homes or people wanting to live in show homes.
Instagram homes.
I
Come,
don't get it.
come and look at my house.
I don't get it.
Wait, what?
It's
Do you
for
live
me,
here?
it feels sterile. It feels cold. It feels like, where's the love in the room type of thing. And I can't. And like, there's got to be some kind of element of living in there, or that's slightly out of place. I've got to go and correct it. No, it's just life. Sometimes you knock something, it's fine. Sometimes there's a pile of toys over in the corner, that's fine. It doesn't have to be pristine, perfect.
The laundry
all the
basket's
time.
overflowing in the corner. Out of shot.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody's laundry basket on Instagram, you know. It's always perfectly manicured homes.
Yeah.
Not, they even have pets, and it's just like, wait a minute, your pet has not left a hair
It's
anywhere,
so
Right.
perfect. It doesn't.
which
There
is
we-
not real.
We're going into the social media thing. Don't get me started. Social
Yeah, 'cause-
media.
no, I'm just thinking as well. I've done a little video the other day for cervical cancer awareness, and I was looking at it, and I kind of picked like the best spot in my room to do the video. But yeah,
But why? I think probably Instagram level, or you know when you see TV program. I watched. What did I watch the other day? No, it was renovations thing. Who does that? I can't remember his name.
What, Dion Dublin?
No. So it's something on, not advertising any TV channels. It's on a TV channel that typically one of the better channels that has the number 4 in it. Anyway, it was like Perfect Renovations or something,
Yeah.
and they walk through. They show the homes before. It was too tiny, or I need this extension. Blah, blah, blah. It still looks like a loved and lived in home. Then they get these brand new extensions and stuff. It's so sterile. They're like, yeah, it's perfect, it's pristine. I know you're doing it for the TV, but what's it like on a normal day? It's
yeah,
just chaos. Is it? I'd rather see that than I could literally walk along and try and run my finger where there's any dust and there's nothing.
Eat your dinner off the floor.
Yeah, that type of thing. I wasn't going to go there, but yeah, that type of thing. And it's similar with the mind. I guess if you have a tidy house and you have nothing to worry about, you're thinking, oh, everything's calm, serene, I'm good, and there's no mess. It's a similar analogy to the desk, but my desk is just. I had the comment the other day, and my wife is not going to forgive me, but she went, if your desk was tidy, I'm like, well, it's just how I work. My mind is moving 1,000 miles an hour with everything I've got to do with work. That goes there. Oh yeah, that goes there. Oh yeah, I'm looking at that bit. Yeah, I'm looking at this bit, and then that's my brain, and that's how it stays to the next day because I remember that.
Yeah.
That and that.
And I can be like that, but then there are also times when I go to sit on my desk to do something else. I'm like, why is this here?
Yeah.
Why is that in the way? I'm the only one who's left it there, but that's not the point.
I'm cross with myself.
Yeah.
So you need to find a happy balance.
That's no such thing as happy balance. It's
Happier.
Yeah,
Happier.
happy balance better. Better. I don't even know how did we get to that point from 90s
You've gone from music to
but
like tidy desks.
and that is my brain. I jump from one thing to another to something else. I can have 2 or 3 conversations all at the same time. But do you know, I'm not going to tidy the podcast up because that is a reflection of who I am. This is the My Voice and Power podcast, and you guys are my friends also. So you're an extension of me. So therefore, this is how it goes out.
It's basically like if we went for a coffee or a tea or a beer or something alcoholic. This is what we'd be chatting like. I mean, you and we talk some pure rubbish, but it's good entertainment.
Follow the power of the wind.
That's our therapy, right? You're talking about our therapy side of things. We don't talk to each other. We just send each other messages. It's how it is.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's such a Gen Z thing to do. Is it a Gen Z thing?
Don't get me on the generation thing with social
my
media.
days.
Is it millennial thing?
We're going to have to cut it there. We're going to have to pick that up the next time.
Next time.
Yeah.
We'll talk about. That's what we'll talk about. Social media and the current generation, which I don't know what it would be. Is it Generation ZZ? Generation
Gen
A?
Z.
I don't even know now.
I think it's Z.
It's the same
We were
with
talking
the
about
noughties,
influences.
the 10s and 20s.
So you've gone from influence from R&B
Influences.
music to influence of social media.
To be fair, that's probably the shift. The influence was through music, now it's through
Yeah.
10-second videos.
And it supports my thing that I have because a very well said phrase is that it's not that deep. It's not that deep. But everything is deeper than most people think it is. And that's how come everything connects.
Yeah,
Yeah. I agree with that.
that's true. Yeah, let's not get real influences either. My strong opinions will start to come out soon.
Yeah, good, that's the point.
On influencers, yeah. The aspiration for this generation to be an influencer. Okay, well, what about all the other jobs that need to be done out in the world?
I mean, like the real
jobs.
The real world.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being an influencer, but you've got to back it up with something. If you haven't ever lived or done the grubby jobs, then where's your reference point? You have no reference point to life. You have nothing. I went to school and then I sat my ass in front of a camera and I post things on YouTube or Instagram.
Excuse me.
So,
Wait.
Yeah,
No, I'm doing it in my way though, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm sharing my experiences about everyday life, and it's like, but what about the other things in life?
And you're already 16.
Exactly. Well, 16, 18, even 24, 25, whatever. The thing is, if you skip some fundamental things in life, you have no real reference. Therefore, you will find it incredibly difficult to share opinions on things that people are experiencing because you don't know what they're talking about. So, you'll go, okay, and it's very on the surface, but no real deep meaning. And then you've got to go out of your way to understand what that person's. You have to go and research. But then, as I say, surely the better things in life is to experience some of those things, so you have your reference point. So you have the traumas, the hardships, and all the rest of it. And go, yeah, I don't want to do that again. That's your motivation. That's the way you can relate to other people, and that's where you can actually help other people.
Right, I take back my friends.
Yeah, you've got the experience.
It's experience.
Yeah.
But that,
Yeah.
have an opinion, and then go,
You know
No,
what?
no, no.
I've never thought about it that
Yeah.
way before. I've never thought that from an influencer perspective, today the influencers are the influencers, what they do. But for me growing up, the influencers was what I was into. So whether it be cartoons, whether it be TV, but then music was a massive influencer. Then when you think about it, you go, all right, back then, maybe early 20s, something singing about something. But then as we progress through time, then singers get younger and younger, singing about experiences that they probably have no idea about.
well,
Because they've been given it to them to sing, they're like, oh, okay. So how do they?
well, Michael was the first, Mr. Jackson. Then
Yeah.
you got the likes of, more recent, Chris Brown. Remember when he first popped up? Yo. It's like this little kid running around and, you know what I mean?
I was thinking more like Sean Kingston for some reason. I don't know why that came into my head. I don't know why.
Right. That's enough until next week.
No, but what was he singing about?
Beautiful
Girls.
Right, and I'm like, well, what at the time he was like 15, 14, 15 or something like that?
What do you know about beautiful
Yeah.
girls?
He made
What are you telling
Well,
people?
but
you know?
maybe the things that he was listening to when he was growing
Right,
up
there you go.
is influence. See, that's why he was singing about beautiful girls, because of all
Which
the.
is why music needs to be a bit lighter these days. I know there's the referencing of what you said before, people recognising certain lyrics, understanding and relating to it, but let's lift it a little bit. I mean, pop music, I don't listen to pop music for ages, but you know, for people that are taking influence from music, be happy stuff and
Don't worry.
yeah, I think like
Great
that.
song.
Yeah, don't worry, be happy.
To hear the full radio show, which entails me reflecting on the podcast, sharing the answers to the social media question of the week, and playing music, go to www.myvoiceempower.com and scroll down to the radio section. To listen to the full show live, tune into www.unityliveradio.co.uk every Thursday at 9 p.m. UK time for the My Voice Empower show, where there is also a Your Voice Empower hour for guests who still want to be heard but not shown. They come and engage in conversation about either their business, project, event, or raise awareness about topics that are close to their hearts. Always remember to spread your wings, speak your truth, write it down, and let it go.